By now, you should know that I don't like the meta playstyle in the game, but I've never gone into detail as to why that is. So let's talk about that and some other topics. Buckle up, this is going to be a chatty video. If you don't know it by now, meta stands for most effective tactics available. In eFootball, that can mean using a certain formation or certain move. For example, the most common meta formation is to have 3 centre backs and 1 fullback. The fullback is usually a defensive fullback with high defensive stats, or a centre back who can play as a fullback. Basically, the fullback operates as the 4th centre back, usually with defensive instruction on so he doesn't go up the pitch. For attack, the meta is to have your forwards all in the middle. This is usually a combination of 2 centre forwards and 1 second striker all in the middle. Meta formations usually don't utilise wingers because wingers are quote useless and ineffective. So why am I so against playing meta? Well, personally I think playing the meta way in eFootball is extremely limiting. Don't get me wrong, it is effective, but it is limiting. If you play meta, you don't have any overlapping fullbacks to join attack. All your attackers are in the middle of the pitch, so you can't use the space on the flanks. The only thing you can do is to send through balls for the forwards to run for, or 1-2 your way between your forwards until you get in on goal. I've made a video on this and how to defend it. You can watch it here. But this is what I mean by meta being limiting. You're forced to play one way without much variation. Almost every goal you score will be the same 1-2 ping pong or through ball and run, which for me is very boring. And this is why I have a problem with meta. It doesn't spark creativity, and it's not just meta in eFootball. I mean meta as a concept. People seeing other people's success and just blindly copying each other without putting much thought or their own identity into it. Meta exists everywhere, of course, even in real life, and we can't completely escape it. Take YouTube content creation for example. One of the most effective ways to catch someone's attention with thumbnails is to use the little arrow or circle, which has been proven to be effective in gaining clicks. Sure, I've used it as well in the past, but I don't use it in every video, and I'm trying not to use it at all. But I remember there was a time when almost every single YouTube video on my homepage had this arrow or circle. When it is so overdone like this, it looks a little bit ridiculous. Take me making eFootball videos for example. The meta is ironically to make videos on how to play meta, because so many people are searching and wanting to know what is the most effective way to play eFootball. Or another meta is me opening packs every week and do some pretend overhyped reactions and then analyze the cards. But why do I want to do that? Why would I want to become one of the thousands of people who are already doing the same thing week in, week out? And that kind of ties into my next point. Meta is cheap and lazy. The whole premise of meta is low effort and high reward, with the lack of effort and creativity often comes through. Again, going back to the content creation example, I don't know what the current meta is right now, but there was a phase where these street interview videos were very popular. The ones where the quote creator goes around and asks people on the street,
"What do you do for a living, bro? What do you do for a living?"
Of course, if you ask enough people, there will be some that are interesting enough for content.
What do you do for a living? What do you do for a living?
But you can't deny that these content takes little to no effort to make. You could churn out those videos every day easily. Compare those with videos that takes weeks or months to research, script, film and edit. Or think about the meta in the gaming industry. If you're purely thinking about making money, then the meta is by far microtransactions. So imagine every game developer starts thinking, why bother spending time and resources to develop a good AAA game and charge around 6 to 80 euros when you can just make a half decent one with loot boxes and people will pay the same amount every month? Think about games like EA's FC. FC 25 is expected to make more money in a single quarter than the entire The Last of Us franchise. So does that mean FC is a better game than The Last of Us? Take another example. Fortnite has generated more revenue in its first 2 years than GTA 5, and even GTA 5 has microtransactions. Applying the same logic, if I were to teach game studios that not having microtransactions is ineffective, they would never make as much money without it. Imagine how the gaming industry would be if everyone only cared about revenue. Likewise, the most effective and efficient way for me to make content is probably to get ChatGPT to write a script for me and use AI voiceover to do the commentary for me. Do some quick editing and thumbnails, and I can make videos like these in less than half an hour. But instead, I spend days, if not weeks, writing the scripts, capturing footage, recording voiceovers, editing. Why? Because I enjoy putting in the effort into creating good quality content. And I think you guys can see the effort I put into these videos, and hopefully you guys appreciate it as well. The other thing about meta is, it doesn't teach you to be a better player. It can help you score more goals and potentially win more games, but it doesn't necessarily teach you to be better. Being a better player means being able to make good decisions, dribble, pass, being able to identify where the space is and play to it, being able to adapt and be unpredictable. Meta is by nature the complete opposite of these. Meta is about doing the same thing over and over again regardless of what the context is. If it is 3 CFs, then it's always 1-2 between the forwards. If it is crossing, then it's always kicking the ball to the wing and crossing to collar. The other thing I wanted to touch on is the player base. The meta only exists because the players are looking for the easiest ways, which I understand, of course. When you're new to something, of course you want to start with the easiest option, but as they play more and more, rather than looking into ways to improve, they just look for more and more cheap tricks. I've had a viewer message me and said they were struggling with the game, even though their team is very good. And this formation is not even that meta. And look at this, he said he has one little tactic to score from kickoff. Don't we all know what this is? Instead of actually learning how to play the game and improve, people look for cheap tricks like kickoff, corner exploit, or squeezing all your forwards together because they don't know how to use the wings. I'm sure we all have played high rank players who would do nothing but these tricks all game. Just because they get high ranks this way, it doesn't necessarily mean they are getting better at the game. Speaking of unwillingness to improve, I feel like some people just try to copy other people and think by doing so they can replicate other people's success. Of course, there's nothing wrong with copying. We all learn from copying, but some people are so obsessed with copying down to the T, copying exact formations, copying exact play styles of all players, copying all the meta moves, copying all the cheap tricks, just because that's what high rank players or streamers do. Again, if you're copying to learn, then that's perfectly fine. But if you're copying hoping that would translate into success, then I think the approach is wrong. And then of course there are people who open packs just because they think that will help them win more. Which, to be fair, it probably will, and that's probably what Konami wants you to think as well. But the issue is, again, if you don't do anything to improve your game, and you buy cards hoping they'll do the job for you, then the approach is wrong. I've been asked by viewers with things like, I've been struggling to score, should I spin for the latest epic? Or I've spent thousands on this game, why am I still not winning? Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with buying cards, but if you're buying cards instead of improving your game, then I think that mindset won't help you in the long run. I'm aware that this video comes across as a bit ranty and even a bit salty, but I promise that's not the intention. Just wanted to share my opinions on meta and why I personally don't endorse it, and just wanted to have a bit of a discussion really. So feel free to comment below if you agreed or disagreed with me. Thanks for sitting through this video. I'll see you in the next one.